Gentle, slightly melancholic music begins and fades to the background. The sky over Windermere High was always that same soft shade of blue, the kind that whispers that something magical could happen. It was the first week of September. The air was still warm enough to feel like summer, but you could feel the whisper of change on the breeze. For 16-year-old Eli Harper, change had already arrived. Eli wasn't the guy people pointed to in the hall or whispered about in classes. He wasn't popular, he didn't play sports, he didn't have a perfectly styled haircut. He just liked sketching clouds in his notebooks and sitting by the science building during lunch, away from all the noise. But everything shifted the day a girl with a scarlet scarf and quiet eyes sat beside him without asking. Her name was Lila. She didn't introduce herself that first day. She just sat there, reading a book with a cover that looked older than time itself. She didn't speak, and neither did he. They just sat in a silence that felt oddly comforting, a shared quiet in a world that was always so loud. The next day she returned. Again, no words, just quiet company and the occasional stolen glance. On the third day, she offered him half of her apple. That's when he finally spoke. "You always sit here alone?" he asked, his voice feeling strangely nervous. She just nodded. "You do too." Eli smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "I guess now we're not alone anymore." From that day on, they became something that felt like gravity. They were pulled together. No one officially called it love, and no one needed to. It was there unspoken, in the way they waited for each other between classes. It was in the way she'd draw tiny suns in the margins of his sketchbook, right next to his clouds. It was in the way he started carrying an extra apple every day, just in case she forgot hers. They never kissed. They never even held hands, but their connection was louder than anything physical. It was poetry without needing to rhyme. One late afternoon, as golden light poured over the quad like honey, Lila turned to him. "Do you believe in endings?" she asked. He frowned, confused, like the kind in stories. She nodded, her voice even quieter than usual. "Happy endings. Sad ones. Just endings." He thought for a moment. "I think everything ends eventually," he said honestly. "But I also think some things are so beautiful, the end doesn't matter." Lila smiled. It was a sad sort of smile, the kind that hides something just behind it. That night, she didn't reply to his text. The next day, she wasn't at school, nor the day after. By the end of the week, a knot of worry had tightened in Eli's chest. He started asking around. No one seemed to know much. A few teachers said she was in their classes, but that she rarely spoke. No one had even noticed she was gone. Confused and scared, he got on his bike and rode across town to the address she'd once casually mentioned. It was a small white house with peeling paint and a mailbox hanging crookedly. An older woman answered the door. "Hi," Eli said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm a friend of Lila's." The woman's face changed. Her eyes softened. but a deep shadow passed through them. "You must be Eli," she said quietly. "Lila talked about you." His heart caught in his chest. "Is she okay?" The woman hesitated, her gaze filled with a sorrow that made Eli's blood run cold. Lila was sick for a long time. She didn't tell many people. She didn't want anyone to look at her like she was breaking. He couldn't breathe. It felt like the air had been stolen from his lungs. "She passed away 2 days ago," the woman said, her voice trembling, peacefully in her sleep. The world tilted. Time slowed down. The words crashed over him like waves he couldn't escape. "I'm so sorry you had to find out like this," she added, offering him a small sealed envelope. "She asked me to give this to you." He walked home with shaking hands, clutching the envelope to his chest like a lifeline. He sat on his bed, the paper feeling impossibly heavy. Inside was a single sheet, folded delicately. He unfolded it. "Dear Eli," it began, "I never thought I'd find someone like you. Someone who sees the world the same way I do, not in loud moments, but in the quiet ones. I didn't want to tell you I was sick, because I didn't want our story to be about that. I wanted it to be about apples and sunshine and drawing tiny suns in sketchbooks. I wanted you to remember me smiling, not fading. You gave me the best days of my life. Not because we did anything huge, but because you made ordinary days feel like they were worth staying for. I'm not scared anymore, but I am sad because I won't get to see how your story continues. So please promise me this. Keep sketching. Keep noticing the clouds. And when you see someone sitting alone, sit next to them. Give them a piece of your apple. Love always. Lila, he read the letter over and over until the ink smudged from his tears. For a long time, he didn't go back to their spot by the science building. It felt too heavy, too empty, too full of her absence. But eventually he did. One sunny afternoon in October, Eli sat on the bench beneath their tree. He opened his sketchbook, drew a cloud, and waited. A moment later, a girl walked by, looking lost and quiet. She hesitated when she saw him. He looked up and offered a gentle smile. "You can sit," he said. She did, and without a word, he pulled an apple from his bag, broke it in two, and offered her half. Lila wasn't a chapter in his life. She wasn't even a full story. She was a moment, a spark. A soft voice reminding him that love doesn't always need to last forever to change someone completely. Thank you for watching. Remember to be kind, to share your apple, and to notice the quiet moments. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.